Welcome to Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. This show is dedicated to asking tough questions for you, the viewers. We bring you their responses, and we let you decide. We have given all candidates, potential candidates who are seeking your vote in this mayoral election to become the next mayor for the city of Methuen, an opportunity to come in and get to know the candidates who you be voting for in this election. Joining us today at our NCTV studios, member of the Charter Commission, chairman of the City Council, candidate for mayor for the city of Methuen, Mr. Jack Cronin. Mr. Cronin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Hector. I appreciate the opportunity to come see you.
Great to have you. Mr. Cronin, we just briefly mentioned some of your resume, member of the Charter Commission, chairman for the City Council, and now candidate for mayor for the city of Methuen. But for those viewers who may not know who Mr. Cronin is, who is Jack Cronin?
Well, sometimes my wife asks me the same question. Well, I've been around the city of Methuen regarding politics since the early 70s, so I am definitely not a rookie. I have been a Little League coach. I think I was the only youth hockey coach in the system that didn't know how to ice skate, but I was there when other people's weren't, so they made me a coach. Cub Scout leader. My wife and Maureen Donovan went to a Cub Scout meeting one time, and when they came back, I was the Cub master. I had no idea it was going to happen, but that's how it works sometimes. There was about 102 kids. It was the biggest Cub pack over at Stephen Barker School, which is now the YMCA. Biggest Cub pack in the Merrimack Valley at the time. So all those things, very involved with my kids growing up. Little League, basketball, youth basketball, and all of these other sports, whatever they wanted to do. I've served City Council. I've been the chairman of the City Council maybe 7, 8 times, I'm not sure, in different times in my life. Before we had the mayor form of government, we had the not town meeting, but a city manager, a town manager. And as a subdivision of the council at that time, they had different committees. So I was on a planning committee, I was on a legislative committee, and so forth. So I've done a little bit of everything, well-rounded, I guess is the word, as far as the community goes.
You mentioned that you've been involved in politics since the early 70s.
Yes.
What drove you to become involved in your government?
A man named Frank Roberge. I don't know if you know him. His wife, Cammie, is still living over here in Burnham Road. He passed away a few years ago. He was running for selectman at the time, and he was a neighbor. When I got out of I'm a Navy veteran also. When I got out of the Navy, I went to live in the veterans housing, and he was a neighbor at the time. So he recruited me to help him campaign, and I did that 2 or 3 different times that he was running, and as time goes by, that's how I got interested, I guess, in politics, and I was only in my early 20s at that time. So that's how basically I got involved.
Well, now, with the busy schedule that you have as a member of the Charter, dealing with the Charter and the City Councils, with the issues facing the people of Methuen, what is a relaxing day for Mr. Cronin?
Well, the Charter Commission is all over now, so we don't do that. The City Council is supposed to be part-time, but it's a little more than part-time because of all the paperwork and all the stuff's going on. But during the summer months, it's pretty easy. We go off on day trips here and there, my wife and I, and involved with my grandchild. She's over the house at least once a week staying over, so that keeps us busy a little bit, but it is relaxing at the same time because it's away from. And I am retired, so I don't, it's not like I have an everyday job to go to.
Right. And is there any type of music that makes you relax, or any favorite music that you may have?
I used to, growing up, I liked the soft rock, but I'm not into any of that kind of stuff. I like a little country now. Country's
good. Country's good. What's your favorite dinner? Is there anything
my favorite dinner? Well, corned beef and cabbage. What else?
Now, did you attend Methuen Public Schools?
No, I went to Lawrence High School.
You did?
Graduated in 1960 from Lawrence High School.
What was your strongest subject in school?
I don't know. I'd say recess. I used to like that a lot.
So you like the recess,
yeah,
huh?
No, I'm kidding you. I like math a little bit. I never really pursued it heavily, but I did enjoy math.
You did. Yeah. Now, let me ask you, what made you decide to run for mayor for the city of Methuen this time around?
Well, First of all, I want to say I have respect for everybody that takes out nomination papers to run for every office. I have a lot of respect for anybody that takes that step. So I'm not. It's not that I'm out to, to beat this particular person or that particular person. That does not come into play with me. This time out, it was a lot of phone calls from friends and some people, basically over a 2-month period, because I had absolutely no desire to run for mayor. I was going to be happy just leaving. I guess it was mostly the phone calls. At the last incident, a couple of phone calls come in from some very close friends of mine that they kind of really wanted me to run. I can't say what was said to me because I don't want to say anything about any other candidate or anything, but they're the ones that convinced me to run.
Now, we had a debate last Friday, which was actually the day that you decided to pull papers out, and unfortunately you wasn't able to join us on the debate. But I wanted to ask you some of the questions that we were asked your other opponents. Yep. And the first question was, can you define what open government would mean to you under a Cronin administration? Well,
first of all, it means following the law that has, the mass law with open government. That would be the number one priority. I think as much information as possible should be put on the website and shared with everyone that needs it. I think anybody that comes into City Hall that wants information that it's proper to give out, I mean, it's on the record at the city clerk's office, they should have it. Basically, I have no problem with telling the people almost everything. Some things by law we can't. Right. And I'm not about to break the law to make that happen.
Well, that's good. Let me ask you, how would you plan on implementing an open government policy within the Cronin administration if you were to be elected?
Well, I think most of the policies are in place, and I would always have an open door to not only to the people in the City Hall, but to the general public. I think that any kind of questions they want to ask, unless it's regarding negotiations or litigation, I would probably get the answers for if I didn't have it, and just basically talk to everybody. And I wouldn't mind having town meetings here and there in little blocks in different districts. Maybe once every 6 months, go to each district individually and have the people come in and ask some questions and give them an update on what's happening with the community.
So basically move it away from City Hall, from requiring the people to go to City Hall to speak to you as to
different spots.
Go to different districts where you'll be accessible when they can ask your questions and so on. Let me ask you, can you tell us in your opinion what you think the current administration has done right and what they have done wrong on the issue of open government?
On the issue of open government? Yes. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes we don't get our information until very, very late or just before voting time. We have to request it to take a vote. So that's been a little bit difficult. What they've done right, I guess, is during the course of the last few years, there's been a lot of behind-the-scenes negotiating going on. I think they've kept that out of the public eye, which is by law you have to, especially union contracts. And I know it's probably going to come up about some lawsuits, but those things cannot be made public because you just cannot go out and give people information regarding your strategy and what's going on. But I might talk to you after the show about something. So I think they've maintained the law. Sometimes I think that we should have had our information a little bit sooner.
Now, a lot of people talk about the status quo and in general when they deal with politics, sort of name recognition of people that just currently serve or continue to keep serving their public, and there's nothing wrong with that. But moving forward, how do you plan to move beyond the current status quo that most people are concerned about?
Well, I mean, I don't know what you mean by the status quo. You mean as far as term limiting and stuff like that?
Well, the way politics in general operates, the open meeting law, I mean, the open meetings, the open government policy, just the right to people to question their government and be involved in their government in general.
Well, on every council agenda, there's an opportunity for the people to come up and speak. And they're supposed to sign a log and sign in and to speak whatever they want to speak on. Certain things are a little bit off limits, but mostly they can say what they feel. I think Mr. Burke comes up quite often, and I always respected him for that. Whenever he comes up, he speaks on an issue. He's not attacking people, doesn't go out to try to embarrass anybody, but he wants answers on some stuff. So you got to respect that. But if you want to come up and just throw out ridiculous charges about somebody that nobody knows what you're talking about, and there's another venue for that. Right. If you have an ethics problem with somebody, go to the Ethics Commission and file a complaint. Don't be coming to City Hall and City Council meetings and taking up our time bashing somebody because you just feel like bashing somebody. That to me is off limits. So I think and by the way, at the beginning of every meeting, if people have not signed up, I ask anybody in the audience if they still want to come up and say something. Sometimes we get someone, sometimes we don't. So we keep that open.
Let me ask you, if you are elected as mayor, what changes would you make as mayor that the current administration has not made yet?
Well, I'm not sure. I'll tell you, my first priority, if I do get elected, day one, will be to bring everybody in. I want to I believe that the council should be informed of everything that's going on as it's going on, outside of negotiations, because that's against the law that whoever you're negotiating with has some rights. So, but I think they ought to be informed on a regular basis on what's going on. I think they ought to meet with the mayor individually, or 2 or 3 at a time, whatever they want to do it, however they want, to get any information they can. I think that's very, very important. And I think day one, I would also start working on the budget. I would be looking at, I'm not saying that he hasn't done this, because I'm not sure what his private stuff is, how many people meet with him at what time. But I think that the priority is going to be the budget, because, let's face it, times are tough. And I'm not looking to fill a couple of positions that were put into this budget. I would not fill the Community Development Board budget, the Community Development Director's position. And I'm hesitant of the human resource. I know we need a human resource officer in City Hall. My feeling on that was I would like to take somebody in City Hall and kind of maneuver them into that position, have combine 2 positions into one without hiring another person. That's the way I feel right now on it. Who knows once I delve into things. There are other positions within City Hall in that budget that I feel that can be combined into one without doing away with any people, any personnel. So that's some of the things I'd be looking at. I think that right now I could probably cut just by doing that with the council's approval, because some of this stuff you need to go to the council, probably $500,000 out of the budget.
Now, do you believe the people are divided, and if so, along what lines?
People
divided, just in the community.
Oh, sure, I'm sure they are. I mean, every time, let's face it, every time some item comes before the council and you take a vote, some people like it, some people don't. Budgetary-wise, I think a lot of people are divided. There's a lot of things we can do and say as far as the mayor's proposals and stuff that some people are not going to be happy with. Nobody wants to raise taxes. I'm sure I as a city councilor don't want to raise taxes, and I'm sure the mayor didn't want to raise taxes. That's not a popular thing to do. So as far, I don't know, division on what lines and what items and what, what issues, I'm not so sure. There might be some division along the term limit line. If we want to talk about that, I think there's some there, yes.
Yeah, we'll definitely come back to the term issues in a minute. Let me ask you, some of your opponents now have taken a pledge not to take any contributions from anyone convicted of ethical violations. Do you take the pledge that one of your opponents...
take that pledge right now, sure.
So you do take the pledge not to accept any contributions from anyone convicted of ethical violations?
Sure, I have no problem with that.
Now, as mayor, if you're elected, you would have the opportunity to deal and handle and negotiate all municipal contracts. Now, is that something that the unions should come to you with open mind, keeping the people in mind? How would a negotiation for the unions look like under a Cronin administration? Is it going to be sort of like, they control the office, or will the mayor be stepping up and telling the unions, listen, we have to live within our means, so do you? Is that something that we can expect?
Well, yeah, I believe in fair negotiations. You have to look at every line item and see who benefits from what. The union gives up something, maybe the city might have to give up something, and vice versa. But I believe in fair negotiations. I will say this, that I know being union is not a popular thing right now because of the economy, but I'll tell you one thing that I firmly believe in. If it wasn't for the unions over these years, then there would be no middle class. There'd either be a low class and an upper class. There would be no middle class, because they brought the civilians' rights and to make a decent wage to the forefront. So kind of later on, kind of now, the way it is, they might have to take a step back a little bit, and a little bit of reality, and you're going to have to do some hard negotiations. So
now, right now, the situation with the state is, and this would be a change in the state law, that right now the negotiations within the school committee is handled by the school superintendent. There is a clause in the teachers' union contracts that don't allow the school superintendent to, let's say, negotiate start times and so on. Would that be something in favor that would you like to see the school superintendent have a little bit more freedom to set time standards in the school systems versus having it involved in the negotiations where they hold the people hostage?
Well, I would talk to the superintendent of schools to see how she feels about that, to see if it's a big issue or not. I'm not sure if it is an issue with her. I think they're starting August 31st is the start date for a school. I'm not sure if that was done by negotiations or if that was just the superintendent saying this is the start date. I'm also aware that the school committee on the school side sits in on negotiations, part of negotiations with the unions over there. So the way it was presented to us, the first motion that was put before the Charter Commission was to have permanent term limits, okay? Which means if that went on the ballot, there would be no way that anybody would have a way to vote to eliminate term limits. Because no matter what happened, if the proposal from the Charter Commission failed, you still would have term limits. They'd be the same as they are now, 6 years and then 2 years out, and then you can come back. But that's still a form of term limits. And I didn't think that was a fair way to go. As you know, I proposed that the City Council, have a special election that would put 3 different questions on the ballot. And by the way, I made this. I told the Charter Commission I was doing it. I know you think I did some polling and stuff like that, but I told the Charter Commission I was doing it at a meeting. I'm not sure if you were there for that. I talked to the Tribune about it, told them I was doing it. I talked to the Globe about it because they called me, and I told them that I was doing it. So I wasn't sneaking around behind anybody's back. But I wanted to put 3 questions on that ballot. No term limits as they are now, or permanent term limits, and it would have been all over. Nobody decided they were interested in that. They all decided they'd rather see if they could get Jack Cronin, tag him a little bit. But I'm a big boy, I can take it.
Now, you mentioned that you brought up three questions, and you did bring up 3 questions to bring in a special election, correct? Now, that special election would have cost the taxpayers somewhere roughly between $20,000 and $30,000.
Correct.
Whatever happened with that? That was defeated?
It never came before the council because all these other accusations come up, and I said, hey, the hell, it's not worth it, and I'll just let them vote on it the way it is. No term limits, or the way it is now. So it wasn't worth it to me to go forward if it was going to create that much of a controversy and people were going to, out of hatred, try to scuttle it. So that's the way it is. Now they lost. Now it's not on there at all.
So what will the people expect to see on the issue of term limits, what would be in the ballot for this coming election for them to vote on when they're voting for mayor?
Okay, the way it reads is this is not word for word because I can't remember word for word, but the way the ballot question will read is the term for a city council shall be 2 years. The term for the mayor shall be 2 years. Simple as that.
Now, it seems to me that once you're elected and you get into office, there's only a few months that you have to be able to do anything. Should that be required? We know that the president gets elected for 4 years. We know the governor gets elected for 4 years. Would it be fair in Methuen if mayors were elected every 4 years and only serve a 2-year term, sort of like the president and the governors?
Not a 2-year term. You mean 2 terms.
Right, two terms
4-year terms
versus what it is now.
I'm not in favor of that.
You're not in favor of that?
I'm not in favor of that. The reason for that is you elect somebody for 4 years, then they're considered a lame duck for 4 years. And they're less like, I'm not saying, whoever gets elected. I don't know who's going to get elected, but there could be a mindset for that person, whoever it is, that they don't have to represent the people anymore because they've got a 4-year term. So I'd rather let the people vote on it, vote on that person every 2 years.
Now, if you're elected, what would you do to try to avoid to raise taxes on the average person out there, that homeowners and so on? How will taxes be your last resort, your last option?
Well, first you're going to have to look, as I mentioned earlier, about combining some of the positions out there, and they're still looking. There is a consolidation committee working right now to see if we can do some of that within the school department and the city side of the government. So that's basically what I'm going to look at, see if we can consolidate some people. It's funny, we have, not funny, I'm sorry, there's the wrong term to use, but we have a lot of stuff that comes before us, and a lot of fixed costs come before us. And by the way, the reason that you want to consolidate, because you don't hire any people, because one of our the two biggest contributors now to our tax rate is the health insurance and the pension system. So if you're not putting new people onto these systems, then naturally it helps you save some money. So if you can combine those jobs, that's what helps. And that's what I'll be looking at first. I don't know if we can get, I'll be looking at trying to get some other revenues coming in on the revenue side. As was mentioned earlier by one of your staffers here, the Fox and Nissan building is being renovated right now. We don't know what that tax thing is going to be yet. Right now there's a team up there evaluating the hospital. They're privatized. Right now, the estimate is about $725,000, $750,000. Originally, when it first came in, when they were first contemplating the purchase, we were guessing at $1.2 million, so it's just not going to be there. So I'm going to look at the revenue side, see if we can develop some properties. I have 2 companies that come in, both happens to be funeral homes, looking to relocate to Methuen, and they can't find a spot. So it's, we're going to look at the revenue side, and we're also going to be looking at the cuts.
Now, you were part of the groundbreaking for the new section of the emergency room in the hospital, yes, where they added, I think they added 10,000 more, yes, equipment and stuff for 10,000 more people a year. How is that coming along?
Well, they're going to start taking patients August 4th. They haven't really opened it. We had the ceremony. August 4th is going to be the first day that they accept new patients. And
you were also for the high school project as well, correct? And that's already underway, construction
that's underway. We have spent about $7.75 million through the bond issues for that, and we've been reimbursed, I think I'm going to say $3.5 million. That we have been reimbursed up to now. Now,
getting away from the politics side of it, you mentioned that you were married, you have grandchildren, and so on. Is there a particular place that you like to go on vacation with your family and just relax, enjoy, get away from the politics, get away from the city?
It's funny. I haven't had a full week's vacation in years, and I'm not accustomed to taking full week's vacation. Sometimes we'll take a weekend. We'll go up to Maine, up to Wells, Maine, or Gunkwit area and stuff like that. But I don't take long vacations, not anymore.
What was your favorite car growing up?
My first car was a '49 Ford convertible. I paid $75 for it.
Nice.
That was my first car. Of course, it wasn't in '49. It wasn't new.
So you had a 49, huh?
That was really my favorite car going on. Although I did have at one time a '59 Ford. It was one of those hardtop retractables that went into the trunk. And I wished I had that car today. It's probably worth about $60,000, $70,000.
Now let me ask you. I know a lot of us, been with our wives for a long time, and we've had girlfriends and everything else. But
wait a minute. You better clarify that a little bit.
Let me just ask you this: since you're married, can you tell us what is the cheapest date you've ever taken your wife?
Well, the cheapest date I've ever taken my wife, I don't know. We go out to eat a lot. We like the fireside, put a plug in for the fireside. We've gone up to Man's Apple Orchard for lunch. I don't know if you consider those dates.
Mr. Cronin, it was a pleasure having you on the show. What I'd like to do is, if you don't mind looking at camera number 1 over here, and just pitch your pitch to the people as to why you would be the best candidate to be the next mayor for the city of Methuen.
Thank you, Hector. I want to thank the staff for coming in today and taking the time to. I know they're all volunteers, so I want to thank them all for coming in. I think that the mayor of the city of Methuen has to be a strong person, strong-willed person. I think they have to be able to make a decision and stick to it based on the facts that are presented to them. They can't be wishy-washy. They can't be voting present. They cannot just say no. The easiest vote in the world to take on that city council, I'll tell you, is no, because you don't have to be responsible for anything once you do that. But you have to be a responsible person as mayor. You have to make some tough decisions, and you have to have the courage to follow through on those decisions and do that. So for that reason, I think that my candidacy is the best. And I thank you very much.
And if anybody wanted to join in on your campaign, help you out, hold signs or anything, how do they reach you?
They can reach me at my home, 978-685-8346.
Great. Well, we thank you for coming in.
Thank you again.
My last question is, how open and transparent will Jack Cronin administration be if elected?
Well, I think I have been open and transparent as much as I can be. There are, again, questions with the city solicitor that he'll give me a ruling one way or the other, and sometimes you just can't be. But I don't have a problem all my life. I've taken my hits out in the public, and I stand up for what I believe, and they hit me, and that's okay.
We thank you for coming in and being open and transparent with our viewers. Before we leave, I want to thank each and every one of you at home for sending us emails, questions, and comments, and show ideas. Please keep those emails coming, phone calls coming. You can email your questions, concerns, or comments to the Hector Montalvo Show at yahoo.com. I am Hector Montalvo, your host. You've been watching Behind the Scenes. Join us next time as we go behind the scenes to ask the tough questions, bring you their responses, and we let you decide. Thank you for joining us.